My name is Eric Musyoka. I do music, and I do music on different levels, not lanes. I said levels. And I'm a very big proponent. Of content creation. And a lot of guys have been asking me how I've managed to have a sustainable career. But don't forget, careers come to an end eventually, yeah? But you try as much as you can to try and make your career as long as possible. So I sat down with a few friends of mine, the organizers of the event, and we were like, yeah, because I get a lot of those questions, so it's time to come and try and explain and try and mentor guys in the right direction of where they should be looking out for and the things that they should be looking out for. Yeah, because there's a very big misconception about a beat maker, a producer, a songwriter, and all that stuff. So today we are going to dissect all those things. And before I go any further, maybe I have a small clip to play that will show you my journey, what I've done, and what I'm currently doing, and what I plan to keep on doing. And also so that those of you who are younger than 21 years can understand where we came from.
Music is passion. Music is emotions. Music is obsession. Music is art. Music defines culture. Music defies time. Music preaches peace. Music educates. Music entertains. Music is life. Decimal is music.
So, nikampeleka decimal.
From one of the greatest nations on earth,
You guys, you know Juicy went to the club, huh?
comes one of the best record labels, Decimal Records. Decimal Records was founded by one of the best producers of our times, who has crafted some of the greatest hits to grace our airwaves, Eric Musyoka.
Hili ngoma ya mtaa, bazi mejaa, machali wasawa wasalala.
Pia mi ukwa kwa crisis. Pia mi najua mwana umesiba isis. Pia mi ukwa kwa crisis. Pia mi najua mwana umesiba.
Weka pesa kwenye banki kisha nacheka utadhani
It's brought one of the best groups in Africa, P Unit.
sijampata mkao. Le mesdames de messieurs, écoutez-moi tout le monde.
You got that denda. She can really get a good one. You got that denda.
The sultry, soulful singer, Monique Kabuye.
In the morning when I see your face, I smile. Bado ninayo, penzi liso kifani.
And produced music for various acts around the world. Being a local label, but with a global focus, we aim to redefine the music landscape by investing, nurturing, and promoting talented artists and musicians. We aim to create a vibrant and dynamic brand of music that will shift the perception of what it is to be an artist and make the artist competitive globally.
We want to position ourselves as a brand that is creative and business oriented, whereby we want the artists that we work with to gain and get the right exposure in terms of the creative process of what it takes to make an artist, and also for them to understand what it takes to survive in the music industry.
Let's look at the next generation of musical superstars. Jack Rooster, Afro House producer and DJ.
I started DJing back in 2011, got into production in 2013, 2014. I focused primarily on house music, African house to be specific. Decimal Records for me represents a place where I can be myself, where I can project my sound in a way that the rest of the world can enjoy it because of the quality of production, the ideas that we have within the collective. My sound is unique, my ideas are unique, my experience in terms of playing for people and understanding how to connect with the audience, my ethos in terms of wanting to take our culture and present it in a format that is new and that can be consumed by the rest of the world.
Brian Natra, Afro-urban pop artist.
I'd say my old soul, because I have a very, when it comes to the culture that inspired me, is very 90 based. So I tend to be a millennial stuck in the, 80s era or something like that, I want to be clear that I am an African artist. I want the world to know that I am African and I represent the people and the culture that's here. I want to remain unpredictable and, work on beautiful music. I want to inspire a culture, not just the music, but the fashion, how people write the music and how the industry works.
Concodi, hip-hop artist.
The team is goal-oriented. In other words, tunanja success. I want the music industry to recognize me as for my potential, for my talent, and for my hard work, both as an individual and as an artist.
Bonai, Genge pop artist and label CEO.
To me, it's like being on board as a record executive and partnering with Eric to bring this freshness and these new artists to the game is personally to me as growth. I didn't want to just come back as an artist only. I needed to make change and, bring change to the industry. We need to lead the revolution. I'd like to add that the Kenyan music industry is actually experiencing a growth spurt, and I see the Kenyan music as a product that we can export, teach people about our culture and what happens in Nairobi, Kenya.
The music industry is ever-changing, and with new platforms and opportunities to be harnessed, our focus is to be a premier record label that will set the tone and spearhead a new generation of artists who are creative and business-oriented as well. Decimal. Louder than your average.
That's a brief introduction of what I do, the kind of business I run, and the kind of environment that I operate in. But to get to that point, I've had to look at my career from 3 different perspectives. And anybody who is aspiring to do production or to be engaged in the business of production, you're just more than a content creator, yeah? At the end of the day, you are operating a music business. Let's not ever forget that. It's a music business. It's not a hobby. It's not something you do because anything else has failed. It's something you put your heart, soul, and mind into it. And so, there are 3 key components or 3 key pointers that I would like to look at that are very, very important for your career progression and the kind of choices you're going to make to determine what kind of path or what kind of sector you're going to play in. 1, you have to understand the business side of things. At the end of the day, it's business, business, business. When you're dealing with people, when you're creating content, when you're producing products, it's a business. I always encourage aspiring producers or beat makers, as they nowadays they are being called, which I think is a very demeaning name. Please don't allow yourself to be called a beat maker. Okay, you're a producer. You're a songwriter, sorry. You're a songwriter. So, the business side of things. Number one, a producer is an entrepreneur. What does an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur scouts for opportunities, looks for talent, and looks for resources to invest in the talent. Yeah? Are we together? Number one, entrepreneurship. Yeah? You must be able to have that kind of outlook and kind of perspective of where you want to take this talent. It's not just a matter of msanii amekam studio, amelipa, na ameenda. I don't think personally that's a sustainable business model. I have nothing against it, but I just don't think it's a sustainable business model. Because if you're not investing, if you're not creating, and I'm not talking the literal sense of composing an artist has played a song and left. If you're not creating content, ever evolving, like you could have this generation of artists, another generation of artists, consistently and continuously, you're not taking the right path as a producer. Because the producer is the entrepreneur. In the traditional sense, a producer was given money by the record label to create a content, a recording that can be sold into the market. Yeah? If you plot and look at the careers of people like Dr. Dre, sorry, he's my role model. So they're always creating new artists. He came with Snoop. He came with Eminem. Eminem brought in 50 Cent. Right now, he's spearheading who? Kendrick Lamar. Yeah? So you always, always have to keep on scouting and investing in new talent. And that's where the entrepreneurship comes in. Even just our own local example, when Ogopa DJ started, they scouted a bunch of talent and a bunch of artists that they created content for and helped market and create a business out of. So the first and foremost thing you must look at is the business side of things. Don't ever forget that it's a bloody business. Rule number one, it's a bloody business. I don't mean bloody by messy, as in, you know. Yeah? It's a business. Always approach it from that perspective. And the business mindset is very different because it looks for opportunities, it seeks resources, and looks for material. In this case, raw talent that you can nurture, create, and sell into the commercial space. We are together. Any questions? Any clarifications before I move to my second point? I'll go through all the points and then we can have a Q&A session. The second key thing is creativity. And by creativity, I'm talking about now the artistic vision of what you want to, what kind of content that you want to put out. For you to be a successful producer, you must have a vision for every artist that you are working with, yeah? There's always this, I call it a fallacy, whereby just because I do music, people assume that I can produce any type of artist. It's impossible. I can't produce everyone. I categorize myself as an urban pop producer. If you bring for me a jazz song, my friend, I'm sorry. I'm not going to help you. Because I don't understand the artistic vision of what a jazz artist requires. Yeah? So you must be able to know what is your strength creatively and what I can add on to a product or to a talent from a creative perspective. And creativity goes a long way in identifying what is working for the market. Yeah? Market research is very, very important. Yeah? For example, let me use this as an example. If you look at an artist like Diamond, if you remove Diamond's vocals in his music, those tracks could easily pass for Nigerian tracks. Easily. He's doing what we call riding the wave. Yeah. So that's the kind of vision that the artists have in riding that wave. When I was doing You Guy with P-Unit, I remember we had a very, very big argument about using that Bam Bam sample. They were like, oh, Flavors used it. Oh, sijui what, when are you going to clear it? Hatutaki kusound kama wa Jamaica, and all sorts of things. But from a production and a creative point of view, I was like, these lyrics and this flow and this arrangement can only work on this song, on this kind of track. The song that you've just heard, Hahe, by Just a Band, I'd written that song for P-Unit. But the day I heard the verses they had written, I deleted their verses. It was not gonna make sense at all. So you must be able to have that creative intuition that this will work, this will not work with this person. Yeah, and don't ever be afraid of saying no to an artist and telling them, look, this will not work. Yeah, they may not see the vision at that point, but days later when the song is something else, they'll appreciate your creative perspective. Yeah, so it's always important to have that sense of intuition of where you want to creatively take the product that you're creating. Yeah, so look at the market, look at what other people are doing, and I personally don't believe producers are competitors because everybody is presenting a very unique perspective of a similar product. No producer can produce a song the same way. And I'll give you an example. There's a song called That song, we were given vocals. We were 3 producers. Nobody was told who is doing what. The client just told us, take these vocals, go and make for us a song. They picked Clemo's version of the song. But my interpretation was very different from Clemo, and his interpretation was very different from mine. My arrangement was very different, his arrangement was very different. So it's virtually impossible to be competitors when the ideas and perspective is very different. Yeah? So that's the creative intuition that you must have as a producer. How creatively can I take this content, or can I take this raw talent and convert it into something better that the market, one, understands, the market appreciates, and is targeted at the right audience. Yeah? Okay. So that's where your creativity really comes into play. And also the ability to adapt. Yeah? And maybe take flavors from different, not flavors, take inspiration from different things in life. Yeah? From pain, from pleasure, from anger, from joy, and create something unique out of it. And be able to work as a team with other people to create content. Yeah? And also creatively, don't forget that you don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to play the drums. You don't have to play the guitar. You don't have to write the song. Yeah? But you have the creative intuition that this guy is good at this guy is good at this one can write like this, that guy plays like this. So I'll assemble a certain team that will enable me to create this content and produce this content. Yeah? Are we together? Or am I speaking? Tuko pamoja? The third point is the technical perspective. The ability to understand the techniques, both hard skills and soft skills in terms of the tools that you're using. Yeah? It's very, very important as a producer to be able to understand what kind of sound I want to achieve and how I'm going to achieve it. Yeah? Sometimes you go to studios and find producers who have like 4 different types of microphones. This one, I know if I'm going to record soft vocals, I'm going to use this. If I'm going to record a rap album, I'm going to record with this kind of mic. If I want a certain type of mix, I'm going to mix it like this. I'm going to use a certain type of compressor, a certain type of reverb to achieve something. Yeah? You must be able to understand the technology behind the tools that you need to create your content. Yeah? How a mix is done. Don't go there as a producer and sit and you don't even understand the gain structure from a microphone to the cable, to the console, to the DAW. And especially at this point in time whereby technology is really, really changing fast, you should be very easy to adapt and do a lot of research. Yeah? Do a lot of research about the kind of technology that is available at your disposal. Because those tools that you have, as much as they may not determine the kind of product you put, they will help you in achieve the kind of product you want. Yeah? So it's very important for you to understand the technical side of things, how things work, how things are run, and not just from a studio perspective. For example, sometimes when I'm working with other artists and I need content brought on my end, maybe for mixing or doing edits, you tell somebody to send you a WAV file, but somebody sends you an MP3 file. Yeah? There's a very big difference between an MP3 file and a WAV file. You must understand the ins of the technology that you're working with, yeah? So that when you're putting out a product, you are able to set standards and be like, fine, if this is what standard has been set, I understand why they came to that conclusion and why they want that type of standard kept. Yeah? For example, every year, the Grammy Academy publishes what we call a white paper of future technologies, of where the industry is going in terms of technology, what's changing, what standards are being adopted, how you should submit your mixes for mixing, yeah, track labeling, and all those sorts of things. That is for producers to understand and standardize the production process, because you can't be a producer of content and you don't understand the technologies that you're working with, yeah? Like right now, if you're having your song mastered, there's something called mastered for iTunes, yeah? You must be able to understand what that means and what that entails and what is required to achieve that kind of standard, yeah? So for the tools that you're working with, you must be able to know virtually everything, yeah? And that gives you an advantage. So those are the three important things that you must look out at. One, the business side of things, the entrepreneurship spirit. It's an investment. It's a business. Treat it like one. Two, the creative side of things. What kind of perspective do I have? What am I good at? What can I create? What can I direct? Yeah? Three, the technology at hand, because these are the tools that are going to help me get somewhere. There's a fourth point, which is called leadership. It's not very, very key, because leadership is personality-based. And some people are born leaders, others are not born leaders. Yeah? But as a producer, you're in charge of creative people. Your team is composed of creative people. People who have very soft egos, arrogance, attitude, pride, and all sorts of things. A very famous producer called Quincy Jones recorded a song called We Are the World. You know the song? That song had almost 36, if I'm not wrong, I don't know the exact number, big artists. The song was written by 3 people, only 3 people. Can you imagine coming to tell Barbara Streisand, this is your line? Yeah? Coming to tell Lionel Richie, this is your line? Yeah? Coming to tell Bruce Springsteen, you sing here. Quincy Jones printed a word, a memo, and stuck it on the studio door. Please leave your ego at the door. That's leadership. because he knew he's working with people who are very self-important, yeah, aka celebrities, yeah. So as a producer, you must know how to deal with people. You must know how to tell somebody no without being rude, no, which is firm and affirmative and, you know, a respectable no. And you must be able to correct somebody and tell them, I don't think this is working. But don't tell them in a dismissive tone. You know, you can tell somebody, your line yako iwak. Yeah. I used to manage a group called P Unit. And those are 3 individuals with 3 different levels of talents. We all know that, right? And you'll meet those kind of artists. Before we did it was our second song, I told them, the person with the weakest verse will always be last. So when you go listen to P Unit's song, the last verse belongs to the weakest person. So we all knew. We kama verse yako ni nyasi, utaekwa? Utakuwa manyu. So, ongeza kamzuka, tia bidii. Yeah? Because somebody will sit and wonder, why am I last? Why is my first? Why am I not first? Why is it always that Fresh is the one who is always starting? But kama Fresh ndio ako na verse kali, na tumevote tukakubaliana yeye ndio atakuwa first. Yeah? So that's a way of managing egos and expectations. Plus also motivating somebody to be a better writer. Because when you're dealing with a large team of artists, those are things you must be able to do. Managing artists, and that's leadership. So don't be too abrasive. Let your actions be firm. Let your decisions be firm. Don't waver in your decisions. Yeah? And always have the best interest of the artist or the talent at heart.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Musyoka. My name is Mware Ndongo, or otherwise Mixmaster Zil. I am a DJ and I also ventured into production. That's obviously why I'm here. My question is about the business aspect of it, because I believe these guys here are quite creative. Kenyans are quite creative,
yes,
at what they do. And the technical side of it, there are platforms where people can learn.
Yes.
But I believe there is a disconnect on the business aspect of things, where unfortunately there's a lot of music that lies in people's bedrooms.
Yes.
People create good things, come up with good ideas, but there's a disconnect on now how do I move? What's the next step? So I'd like to ask you to tell us about some aspects where people can take note of, and so that you can excel on the business side of it, or even at least get started. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. One thing you must never forget is that entrepreneurship is not a talent. Nobody is born an entrepreneur. Yeah? And more so, creative people make the worst entrepreneurs. That's why unasikiaga, tulisign contract mbaya, hatukusoma. Yeah? Me, I was just doing the music. Now you're broke, your business has gone bust. You start looking at the fine print after you've felt the pinch. Entrepreneurship is a conscious decision that you have to make. Yeah? It's not going to come to you automatically. It didn't come to me automatically. And I'm grateful that I made that decision when I was young, so I was broke very early. Yeah? Then I started looking at how can I come from my current situation, just as he's saying. A lot of good music is lying down. Yeah? And so I made a conscious effort to make it my decision to do music business. It was not in me. I was doing music because I could rap, and Another very big problem we have as creatives is that we believe that my product is the best product. You always believe that your product is the best product. The other person is not doing something good. Mine, hii yangu hii ngoma yangu hii ndio kila kitu. Yeah? But how do you make it a business? As I said, it's a conscious decision that you have to make. Number one, when you're designing a house, you go to an architect, don't you? When you want to look for a manager, what do? Do you manage yourself? Yeah? You talk to your peers. You have networks. You have people in positions of power. It may not be the ultimate power, but they are at least on the staircase to power. Yeah? And those are the kind of networks you look at. Yeah? So when I was starting out, I happened to have a DJ in F2. He was called DJ Mose. He knew Kalamashaka. He was my friend. So I was like, easy beats zimeka hapa zimelala. Sinionge tu na Mose nioneka ataongea na wale wase wa record. And that's how Dandora Love and DC Nasisi came to being. I went one afternoon to DJ Mose. I'm like, yo, sunipeleke Dandora. The most somebody can tell you is a no. And a no will never kill you. Don't be afraid of being told no. Just go. They tell you no, fine. Knock another door, no. Knock another door, 10 doors later, a yes will open. I remember the day I went to Homeboys. Now I'd worked with Kalamashaka, we've recorded DC Nasisi. Yeah, we are famous, but you know, now nothing is happening, we are still broke again. Yeah? So what's the next step? I went to a club called Kengele's. DJ John was playing there. So I gave him the song. I don't know if he listened to it, and I really didn't care. Me, I've given you. What's the most he can do? Say no. A no will not kill you. You'll live another day to go and hustle. So 2-3 calls later, I found myself at the Homeboys reception. They were looking for a producer. So I was lucky enough to get into that door like that. But persistency and network is very, very important. Please understand, you cannot do everything yourself. You need a team. And a team does not cost you anything. It's your friends. Your friends are the ones who can help you. So you identify, this guy is good at talking, fine. We boss, situpichie ngoma hawa wase. Wewe unajua kuongea, ende uongee na hawa wase. Buda ni aje, si unajua mse fulani anadu kitu fulani. Si unipeleke. Like that. I did not meet P-Unit in a street. They weren't looking for me. They were with Nonini. And then they told Nonini, tupeleke kwa Musyoka. Tunataka kwenda kwa Musyoka. He brought them to me. Yeah? But if they had like, sisi ni wakali, atatupata. It doesn't work like that. Please remember, nobody owes you a favor. Stand up, walk, and take the steps. Look at your networks. Look at who is connected where. It doesn't have to be up there. And a lot of artists make the assumption that niko hapa chini wacha niende kwa yule msako pale juu. It doesn't work like that. You need to grow and learn. So the first step is get your ass out, make some moves. Don't expect anybody to come and help you. Yeah? Identify your networks. I'm sure at some point in your life, you have friends who know people. They may not be up in the chain, but they can start the step. They can start the process. Yeah? And make a conscious effort of understanding, I'm going into business. I just have a product. Mine is just another product. A song is a product just like this bottle of water. Yeah? And I remember a very good chat I had with a friend of mine called Ken Joroge, the founder of Cellulant. In 2004, Cellulant, that time he was working for a company called 3 Mice. He was starting to sell music digitally. And I remember he came and asked me for my catalog at Homeboys. So when he told me, na by the way, ngoma moja tutakuge 20 bob. I was like, what the? 20 bob only? He's like, the guy who is going to buy you a song has the option to buy a bottle of water, a soda, or your song. Yeah? If you look at the history of iTunes music, The day Steve Jobs told record labels, I'm going to sell your music at 99 cents, they all lifted the middle finger and told him, jishushe. Now he's selling it at 49 cents. Yeah? So understand, your song is just another product. So look at how you can market it, you can look at how you can distribute it, look at how it can get to people. Nowadays, the channels of you doing business are very many. You can virtually distribute your content anywhere. But understand your limitations. If I'm good at creating, let somebody else take the mantle. Let somebody else push the product for me. Let somebody else look at my paperwork. Let somebody else manage me. Let somebody else advise me.
I know the challenge of most probably having the musicians who are coming into your studio who are not maybe creative enough to understand how to make the product. Mm-hmm. So along the process of that creativity, who owns that song? Is it you as a producer, or is it the musician who came up with that song that does not really look like a product that can be sold out there in the market? How do you mitigate between the ownership? Because you're also putting a lot, as a producer, you're putting a lot of your creativity into the song to make it sellable.
Okay, let me give you a scenario of two types of things that happen in this country. They are what we call walk-in studios, and they are what we call record labels. So it depends on who is producing your content. If an artist walks into a studio and pays for a song, he owns that song, not the producer. But don't forget, if the producer wrote the music in that song, he owns a part of that song. Yeah? Because there are two copyrights that exist in any recorded works: the master rights and the publishing rights. Yeah? Personally, I'm not a proponent of an artist coming to pay me to produce music. I don't believe in that model. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, I just don't do it. Yeah? When you pay for a song, you're paying for half of the ownership, which is the master right. If the producer, in this instance, the songwriter, has contributed creatively to the song, he owns a part of the music, which is the publishing share. Okay, so the fee that was paid to the producer was not for you to relinquish your ownership of the master. It's for the studio time, the electricity, the software he's using, the microphone he has bought. It's an investment he has done, that's why he can spread that investment over a couple of songs and recoup his costs. Yeah? But if he does not creatively contribute to the production of that song, he owns nothing. Yeah? The songwriters are the one who own the song, and the executive producers who keep the master rights. Cool. So when you go into a studio, work with what we call a split sheet. If you pay somebody, you are paying for a service, not for rights. You are paying for a service, not for rights. Don't forget that. You are not paying for the rights of anything. You are paying for the cost of production, which is a service. Yeah? For you to generate electricity, a generator needs to run. It needs fuel. Yeah? So you're paying for the equivalent of that fuel, which is the cost of operation of creating the content. You're right. You've understood the difference? Yes. Yule alikuwa ameinua luminous.
My name is Jonah, and my question, I just want to know, do we have a first generation mixer in this country? Like
a first generation what?
Mix. The thing like the producers use in the studio, like to jack in music and microphone and all that stuff. Like I saw it a first generation sound card. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, just your question. Do we have a first generation sound card?
Yeah, I don't know if you talked of Dr. Dre. Mm-hmm. If you check back in his history, like he got this huge thing like behaving. It kind of looks like a mixer, but it's not a mixer, and it got this.
Reel to reel. Sorry.
Oh, a tape machine. If we have one in the country. Switch on that mic.
Yeah, it's not. Okay, it's not that. Or probably I might show it after you're done. Thank you.
Okay, can I answer you after you show me?
Okay, my name is Shankiz. I'm a music producer and a sound engineer. My music studio is at Langata. It's called Masterclef Music. Now, my question is just to help my fellow young producers who are here, just to be able to understand about the rights that I think my friend, my colleague here is asking. Now, as a producer, I know the main issue that is always at the back of the mind of every producer is now the rights. Now, one is a musician, or let me say an artist comes to the studio. He or she has money, okay? Now, he or she has come to pay. But now, when you start the production, then you realize that probably the content that he or she has is not able, probably, according to you, you think that probably won't make it right in the market, depending on the industry, the trend that is in the music industry at that point. Okay, then you as a producer, you'll end up doing almost 60%. That is from the creation, okay? That is mean the arrangement, the composition. You'll go to an extent of either changing some other things just to make the music right. You do the beats, you do the recording and everything, and give out the content, though he or she has paid. Now, at that point, as a producer, what do you own in that music? Now, that's one. Remember, he or she has paid. Now, there is another segment whereby you identify a talent. Let's say the way we are here, we had an open mic. You identify probably a potential, talented artist. Then you decide probably to take him or her as your artist for the recording, whereby now you love to direct the artist. And then you do the production. That is from the beat creation to recording, mixing, mastering. You give out the content. Now, to that point, as a producer, what do you own and what does the artist owns? Now, remember, these are a situation whereby, as a producer, you're the one doing the beats and everything. Okay? Now, there's another level whereby you work with bands. These are bands that they do their own trainings, they do their compositions and everything. They come to the studio. You engineer the recording process. Mixing and mastering and everything, you give them the album, or the master in that matter. Up to that point, as a producer, what do you own?
Okay.
I hope you understand.
Okay, first of all, your first question is the reason why I don't do that. Because it's a very thin line. When somebody has paid you their money, as I said, when an artist is coming to pay you to do a song, he'll own the master of that song, which is the actual song itself. He has paid for that. That's his payment. You as a producer, in this case, a songwriter, you will do 60% of the work. So you will own 60% of half of that song, because there are two copyrights. There's a master right and the publishing right. You've already been paid for the master right, so you cannot lay claim to that. The publishing rights, you'll keep 60% if you've done 60% of the work. And that's assuming you're doing everything yourself. So if there are other people, your percentage keeps going lower. So it's 60% of what you've contributed. Yeah. So the artist is entitled to walk away with his master, whether you like it or not. It's his master. Yeah. Mkikosania katikati, now you'll agree on how to sort yourselves. The second instance, as a producer, you've invested in the artist. So definitely you've put money in. Automatically you own the master. Because you have to recoup your cost for the process. The production process has not been paid for. You've paid for it with your own money. The artist, in this case, who is also a songwriter, please learn to differentiate songwriter, performing artist, session musicians. Learn to differentiate those things. Yeah? When you say what an artist owes, he's written the lyrics. He owns half of the music, which is the lyrics. You own the other half, which is the music. Yeah? Then the second copyright, which is the master, automatically belongs to you as the investor. So whatever percentage he owns, his publishing share will always be his share. Whether he is signed to you, whether you've paid it or not. If he has contributed, it's his share forever. I think in the Kenyan law, it's life and 70 years after you are dead. Then it reverts to the public domain. Yeah? The third instance, the person who is writing music for the band owns the publishing share. If it's the band themselves, they split among the band members. The person who owns the master right is the person who pays for the production of that content. So if the band comes to you and records it to your studio, they are paying you in what we call work for hire. So they've hired your space, they've paid you for the cost of production, they want their master. You've not contributed anything creatively, so you cannot lay claim to any right. We are clear?
My first question will be, in terms of film, the music score.
Yes.
As a producer or as an artist, what do you own in the, and how is it possible for you to get paid in the music score, creating the music score for the film, knowing that maybe TV films that are episodes and you need to get paid as the episodes go on. The second question is, do you think in Kenya there is a chance for someone who is in, maybe who just wants to do mixing and mastering, not necessarily production, mixing and mastering? Thank you.
Okay, when it comes to music for film, it's a very tricky business, yeah? Traditionally, the production companies or the producers of film and content contract songwriters. Please, let's differentiate the word producers and songwriters, yeah? At this point, when a film company is contracting you to write a score, you are a songwriter, you're not a producer. So don't say I'm a producer of music for TV. I write music for TV, yeah? So traditionally in the film and TV business, they do what we call work for hire. So 90% of the time you are paid off. You're paid off the money as a buyout, but you'll still retain your publishing share, which will come from revenues generated from the screenings, which is paid to you by your CMO. That's how traditionally the film business works. Unfortunately in Kenya, it's impossible to collect on that. So you'll have to rely solely on the cash that you are paid as work for hire. Traditionally, in the Western countries, it works a bit differently. You're paid work for hire and then you can collect publishing rights from all the screenings. Secondly, yes, you can make a career out of mix and mastering because the industry is expanding. There are guys who should just focus on creating the content. Others should just focus on mixing and mastering. And that's why I said your team and network comes into play. If you identify an artist as a mix and engineer, you can have another guy write the music for the artist, you record the artist, mix the music and release the content. And then you just create a working relationship and a working cycle that can carry forward. And that's how industries are made. Yeah. So there's a future, definitely. As long as music is being created, and from time immemorial, music has always been created. Music is the only substance, it's the only product that will always exist. Yeah? It will always exist. It will never stop existing.
My question is, nimesikia every time is on. Swali yangu ni
ati umesikia?
On. Producer ana on, songwriter ana on. Na kuna wale watu wanafanya video. Nimesikia wana on pia. Kuna ma DJ huwa wanafanya creativity kwa ma DJ. Pia wana on pia. Can you put in percentages? Ndio tujue kama video producer ana own percentage fulani, ule anafanya audio ana own percentage fulani, naye msanii mwenyewe ana own percentage gani?
Okay, unfortunately hiyo model yako haiwezi exist. First and foremost, don't ever forget, DJs will always be categorized under marketing and promotion. Okay? When you are thinking of the role of a DJ in the music chain, their role is marketing and promotion. So they don't create the content. So they virtually don't own the content. Yeah? Even the mixes they do, yes, they can generate income from it, but they have to pay the owners the moment they start selling those mixes. And that's why it's impossible to find a DJ selling a mix. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, you'll be sued if you start selling other people's content. Yeah. So, but you can make your money off gigging as a performing DJ. Yeah, and using other people's content to go to shows. So DJs fall under marketing and promotions in the larger sphere of things. So that's their role, which is a very, very critical role in the chain of music business. So they, yeah, in essence, they can't own anything apart from what mixes they make. But they can't lay claim to a song. But they can lay claim to a mix that they've done. Yeah? But not exploit it commercially by selling. Yeah? Secondly, video producers. I personally don't deal a lot with videos, but I think from my vague understanding is that there's a certain right that video producers have and lay claim to the visual works, not the audio works. You can lay claim to the visual work. But you see, a video producer is paid on a work for hire basis. So you are hired, you are given a certain budget to produce a certain video. So in terms of collecting revenue and royalties, it's still being worked on. I think Priska working on that. So I can't really authoritatively state what their share is, but definitely they have no claim to the audio part of the audiovisual works.
I just wanted to know the difference between production and publishing.
Production, everything we've been talking about is production.
Publishing.
Publishing is administering of your copyrights. In short, when you finish your material, you'll need it distributed. That's part of publishing. Now, a publishing deal is whereby you get into an agreement with somebody to collect any revenue from that material. So that's publishing.
My name is Abi Nguma, and one of the biggest struggles that we go through as artists is getting your master track from the producer. Ukishamaliza kurekodi muziki, like when you're doing the project, they are really enthusiastic, wanataka kufanya kazi. But eventually memaliza kazi tu hivi, jamaa anaanza kusumbua kupata your song. As a producer, tuache stories za kotini na kupeleka nani na contracts. How would you go about it, or how would you handle such a situation? Usiharibu relationship na the producer because you'd want to work with them again, na pia usikae ni kama kimbelembele mingi. How would you handle that?
Have you paid the producer?
Yes.
Then why is he keeping your song? You have every legal right to enforce and collect your material because you've paid for it. It's your master. I mean, first of all, why do you want to keep a working relationship with somebody who doesn't want to give you your master? In the first place, that's a relationship you better cut off. Yeah, that's part of maturity and growth. So if you've started seeing this guy is keeping my masters, go bring cops on him, sue him, cut off. It's a dead tree. Move on. I mean, that's what I'd advise you, because why do you want to keep a relationship with somebody who is withholding something which you've rightfully paid for? It doesn't make business sense. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no amicable way of solving that. At the back there.
Niaje Musyoka.
Poa.
Niaje wase. Mimi naitwa Bruno na swali tatu. First question, should all producers, is it a must for all producers to know how to play music instruments? Alafu swali ya pili, at what point does a producer tell an artist, kama tuseme mimi naingia kwa studio kama na rap, producer anasikia kazi yangu ananiambia we kidogo unaweza imba, we si wa kurap, ama aniambie bala kunini kurap, jaribu genre ingine. Hiyo ni part hiyo. Alafu part ya tatu, ile verse ilishanga aje?
Wacha nianze na ya tatu. Haikuisha. And then part ya pili, I don't think I don't think it's an issue of ni point gani producer atafika kuambie stop rapping and start singing. It's a mutual agreement whereby if the producer understands the talent, he can see umse atakuwa poa as a rapper or as a singer, and he can advise you accordingly. And it's up to you as an artist to decide enyewe umse ananiambia kitu kweli ama huyu ananidanganya. I mean, I'm sure you saw when Rayvanny posted that clip of himself rapping. Rayvanny alikuwa rapper mnoma sana, but at some point he just couldn't break off as a rapping artist. So whoever advised him to become a singer did him a very good favor. Yeah. So the first question was about instruments. No, it's not a must. A producer doesn't have to know how to play an instrument. Please, for the third time, don't confuse a producer, a composer, and a songwriter. A producer is in charge of the production process, not necessarily the playing of the instruments. Yeah? A producer can get a guitarist to record, I can get a keyboard player to record, but I have the creative vision of where the song needs to go. I'm not the best keyboard player. Sometimes when I can't play a keyboard in a song, I'll do what we call mock tracks, and then you get another person to come and redo them. I don't play guitars. I'll get a guitar player to come and do that. I'm not good at live bass. I'll get somebody to come and do that. I don't play drums. If I need a drum recording in my track, I'll get somebody to come and do the drums for me. You don't have to learn to play an instrument. It helps. It's an advantage. But you definitely must have a musical ear. Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, have you reached a place in your career where you only produce music that you like? And what I mean by that is, in a producer's life, are there times where bills need to be paid and someone comes in and they've got the money, so you choose to produce it? But I mean, you'd explained you're not really a fan of the work for hire model. So then my second question is there actually enough structures in place here in Kenya for you to actually get revenue from that track apart from just like a one-time payment? So are there enough structures in place for producers to actually make money should they choose to go the percentage way, if that makes sense?
For the first question, probably at this point, I only have a few years in my production career. Yes, I'm choosy. Yeah, because one, my talent and creative juices are not as fresh as they were 15 years ago. Yeah, there's only so much I can do. And personally, I can even feel the fatigue of trying to constantly be at par with the market. You start to feel it at some point. And now you start just working on projects that, A, pay your bills, 2, that you like. Yeah? So the second question, yes and no. It depends on what path you choose. Definitely, if you're comparing our work model with the Western world, it's a bit difficult because first, royalties are not regular, royalties are not guaranteed. So, what option are you left with? Opening a studio, charging artists to come and pay. The other option is the option that personally I favor, which is you go out, look for people who have a certain kind of money, who want to invest in talent, and you create a business with them, whereby you'll discover talent, nurture the talent, and have those artists signed to you as a label. So the revenue they're generating, either from performing, from licensing, from publishing, and all that, comes back to you as the producer. So for me, it can go either those ways.
I really appreciate all that you've been doing these past couple of decades in the industry.
I'm only 30-something.
But you're prolific. You started really young. I'm very sure of that. So my question is, I believe you've seen a lot of things in the industry, and I would like to know what mistakes are producers making, and how can the new generation of producers take the industry forward, possibly across the border?
Thank you. First of all, the biggest mistake I've seen, the biggest and saddest mistake is producers running away with artist money. It's very unfortunate. I mean, it's a business where we are all at rock bottom. So you want to even oppress the guy at rock bottom. Yeah? So it's unfortunate, and it's a behavior that I don't think should exist. If you're gonna take somebody's money, please show some sense of integrity. Respect that money is hard-earned cash. Sometimes the person giving you that money has saved his entire life to come to you, and just thinking that this is one and only shot. Do this right for me, and I'll make it. Then what do? You take the money, you disappear, you keep his masters, you don't return his phone calls. It's very unfortunate. I don't think liars last long, yeah? And you can't keep doing that. So that for me is something that I find very disheartening, that somebody can exploit already a desperate situation and make it worse for somebody, yeah? You end up killing dreams of somebody who virtually had nothing. I mean, for example, when I was producing Uko Fulani, Juliani didn't even have money to go to the studio. I paid for them to go to the studio. We walked for a whole week. Okay, not physically a whole week. We had like 3-4 sessions, which I paid for half with my own money, because I was like, these guys are in Dandora, there's virtually nothing. Yeah, they had virtually nothing. We would get to town. That time bus fare from Dandora was 10 bob. We get to town, we walk to Hurlingham. I was fortunate enough, I had some pocket money from my campus days. So the studio session was charging us 1,500 to record vocals. So we tukachanga hapo hivyo. With akina Juliani, Ka, Wenyeji, and a girl called Kabi. We changa'd 1.5. I gave them a G. They removed the balance of 500. And we recorded Dandora Love. DC Nasisi, the same thing. A studio that was in Green Corner, owned by my friend. Went there, he charged us 800 bob for that session. They didn't even have the money. I paid for them. And I mixed for them the songs. And I helped them distribute that content. That is what a producer should be doing for artists, not killing dreams. If I had decided sewana chapa, wacha niwatoke, probably, Juliani might be nowhere today. Yeah? But you as a producer, and I said the fourth point I put across was leadership. Leadership is very, very important. Learn to sacrifice to make things better for others. And I said, always think of the artist. Always think of the artist. Because at any given point, the artist will always be the underdog. He will always be the underdog. Your job as a producer and as a leader is to uplift them and give them hope and a chance in the music business. So the future of our music business, it's bright, it's big, it can only get better. So I'm extremely optimistic. In fact, I wish I could become younger so that I see the next 20 years how things are gonna be. Yeah, but we'll just keep working on it. We are limping at the moment, but we won't limp for long.
My question basically is just the same thing you've been talking about earlier about owning rights, nini. So my question is, I think, almost same as what he was asking. Is there, like, for someone who's, you've written the song, you're the songwriter as the artist and the performer, and the producer created the beat. Is there usually, is that specific?
Stop. Created?
Made the beat.
That's a composer. Okay. He's not a beat maker. I know the word beat maker is a street language, but formally and legally, you'll not go to court with that word. Yes, continue.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. So the question is there like a model, is there specific percentages with the producer and an artist that are out there that someone can find, ama inakuanga tu kitu, you agree with the artist, you agree with the producer, ndo share ndo hivi, ama kuna percentage yani inakuanga?
Okay, the industry standard is when a song is done, there's 100%. 50% goes to the master right, which is the physical composition, the physical song, which goes to the person who removes the money, the executive producer, the record label, or if you're an independent artist, the person who has paid for the song. The other 50% is split between the songwriters. So that percentage, if you're two of you, it's a common myth that the chorus carries more percentage, but if you don't want fights, you just split equal. It's just fair, yeah? Because it's just ethically fair. But sometimes very big artists, and I've read in some journals, very, very big artists, if they've written the chorus, they'll keep 25%, which is high, yeah? Yeah, so it depends on, I mean, if Beyonce comes to write for you a song, you may even end up getting negative. Yeah, there was a legend, an urban legend that when Puff used to say, yeah, 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 he would keep 5%. Bad boy, 5%. Yeah, so those splits are usually agreed. Most of the time split equally. Yeah.
Thanks.
So thank you very much.